You're watching New Car Spin. I'm your host, Brian Grant. This is my favorite new coffee shop in Austin, by the way. I'm not going to tell you what it is because you're just going to ruin it for me. But down there, this is Congress. Down there is, or up that way, that's north, is downtown Austin. And I'm going to drive today a Kia. Where is it? Where is it? Is that it? Let's see. Is this it? Oh yeah, that's it. This is the K900. It's their luxury vehicle. It's their flagship. And it's completely updated and refreshed and new and whatever you want to call it for 2019. So we're going to drive to downtown and I'm going to tell you all about this vehicle. On the surface, it looks like an incredible luxury vehicle, but I have a lot to tell you. Just getting in this vehicle, you can tell it's sort of like Mercedes-Benz-like, yet very BMW-like. And you'll notice immediately the Lexicon stereo with these impressive speaker grills. And you'll notice the detail work here. And it looks great, but we need to go a little deeper than just the surface. Let's turn this on. Fully digital cluster, completely adjustable, which I'll show you in a minute. We have our great navigation system. This is actually also in the Telluride now, and I have two Telluride videos you can see. Let me close this door. So I'm going to apologize right away because this is going to be a long video because this car is very complex, not from the complicated standpoint for what it is, but it actually is complicated because of what it is. And I guess I'll give you the bad points first and then I'll explain why. So Kia to me has always been the underdog in the business. And I've always thought that Kia has been able to have like this underdog mentality and produce things that are just kind of more competitive in the market. My mom had, back in 1998, a Kia Sportage. It wasn't four-wheel drive, but it was a manual, and it did have a 2-liter engine. I think it was 2 liters, from the Mazda Miata. So you had this tiny compact SUV, which is now all the rage, and this was back in 1998, with a manual transmission and an engine from a Mazda Miata. Think about that. That's what Kia did back in the day. They were an underdog so much. And I think that car was like $18,000 new. It was crazy. And what I have here now is a $64,000 Kia. And looking at it, you'd think, oh yeah, this is going to give BMW and Lexus a run for its money. Or so you thought. So let me first grab the sticker for you. This is actually my paperwork. This is a press vehicle, so this is my press loan agreement. My address isn't on there, but this is not my car. Now, what we're going to do, we're going to go to the window sticker. For some reason, they paperclip and staple this thing together. Okay. This is probably going to be a 45-minute to an hour long video because this is what we need to do. We need to thoroughly go over this vehicle and focus. Okay, so it is Snow White Pearl, and it's not. This is black interior color? No, this is not black. I don't know what this interior color is. I do like it a lot. This interior color is very soothing, very mellow. It's very S-Class like. I've seen this color before in an S-Class, and I like it when the seats are a different color from everything else in the car, mostly. We also have the suede style headliner. There we go. Sorry about that focus. And all of that is a part of this package here called VIP package. Oh, there we go. Sienna Brown. Sorry about that. But you'll see VIP package, which has the instrument cluster, the 3-zone climate, the chauffeur seat switch, a bunch of other options that are mainly rear seat oriented, if you couldn't tell, right? So What this means is that rear seat is ultra luxurious, and it's more luxurious than what you would get in the standard K900. But it's only a $4,000 option, which the car starts at $59,900, ends up at $64,895. And as far as fuel economy, it's surprisingly dismal for a Kia. But you'd have to understand, this is a large car. Now, looking at this car, I don't know what's going on here with my camera. There we go. You'll see there's a lot of tech, and there's a lot of cool design. There's a lot of detail here. This is very soft. It's not Napa leather, but it's almost Napa leather. And it's all over the place. We just have incredible finish and pretty good fit in this vehicle. Let me turn that down a little bit more. Okay, going to the center area, we have some buttons here which control things like auto stop start, which sometimes retains the memory, sometimes doesn't. I'm not sure why. We have our rear power sunshade, and then parking sensors and our 360-degree camera, which when I activate it, press the button, it doesn't activate. Now this could be a pre-production vehicle. It's a little different from what I've seen as far as like the little ways things are described. But if we start with this center screen, you can configure how you want this to appear when the vehicle starts up. But I like the fact that you can touch the screen or use this knob, and this knob slides left to right, forward, back, and then you rotate it and you push down on it. It doesn't have any riding capability on it like an Audi would. However, you don't have to just rotate the knob to go through these sections, because there's more screens here. You can tell there's like 3 more screens. All you would do is take this knob and slide it over. So if I slide it, it just goes from one page to the next, which is very convenient. Instead of having to go this way, right, and get through all the screens, I have the ability to just go knock it over. And I hardly use any of this stuff, which is impressive because I have auxiliary controls, right, for my air conditioning down here, and everything I need is centered on the map. And the map being touchscreen has a lot of features to it. You can do a split screen, you could do your navigation aspect to it, find point of interest, and look at traffic. So there are many things that come up on this screen that really make this, combined with the back seat, a very road trip worthy vehicle. I drove it from Dallas to here, and it was a very good car to take on a road trip. There are lots of other cars that cost a lot more that have these features, or some of these features, but there are other cars that cost a lot less that I would still also take on a road trip. So my big question here is, why would you buy a K900? So having it for this week, I discovered things that were kind of disappointing and kind of made me think, well, maybe this isn't like an underdog S-Class 7 Series A8 fighter. This is more or less Kia's attempt at their version of a luxury car. And how did they do? Well, looking around, it looks like they did well, but there are some faults with the way this car is set up. So I'll go through some more features, and then I'll tell you what those faults are. Of course, you know that there is a screen here where you can change these themes, and you can scroll through, and it will change the way the settings look on the display, which is okay if you're into that thing. I keep it on auto, okay? And then when it's on auto, it actually changes with the drive mode. So as I change drive mode, that display will change, which is okay. I've been keeping it on the static display, just like A, so it never changes, because I'm not really into the fancy stuff. However, you'll see that there is a drive mode, and there are 4 modes when you press it. Comfort, Sport, Eco, Custom. But if you hold it down, it says Smart, and I'll do that right now. So Smart is a drive mode that will change the vehicle's capabilities based on how you're driving, and it uses how much braking you use and how much cornering, like how aggressive you are in cornering, to determine which mode it's going to use. And to see that, what it will do is it will go into there. So it'll show me in my drive mode if I'm economical or aggressive. And as I use the vehicle, this bar will deplete or diminish, and then this bar will become more focused. So as you go between this, the car tries to balance out your driving style, and then give you the responsiveness you want from the engine and the steering. The problems I have with the way the car drives is that the suspension seems like it's overwhelmed by the 20-inch wheels, and the steering feels, saying steering feels vague is such a stupid term because no one really knows what that means, and it's such a bitchy it's a conversation killer, really, because what does vague really mean? Vague means nothing. So the car does steer, and I would say like the worst feeling you could get out of it is you don't really tell which way the wheels are pointing on how you've turned the wheel, and it feels very disconnected. It feels a lot like that disconnected steering system that Infiniti has on their Q60 that I drove. I did not like that. So here in this Kia K900, the steering is just like all right, mates, we're just gonna make the turn and we're gonna hope for the best, because I really don't know, and it might be because this has all-wheel drive, but I really don't know where this car is going. And part of that problem is on the highway, there's no straight line stability. It's not like I can just keep my arms planted on this vehicle and then think I'm pointing straight. The car will just start to wander and drift. And I notice I've turned off the lane keeping assist system, and I've just basically used the throttle to kind of steer to keep it in a straight line. It's a weird vehicle to drive, and this is where I think Kia's attempt at making their own luxury car falls short, because at the end of the day, you spent $64,000 on a Kia. You didn't spend $64,000 on an Underdog. And they just fell short in a few areas. If this car had a few more things, and if they had made it $70,000, it would have still been a very expensive Kia, but it would also be, at that point, an Underdog. So let me put my seatbelt on, and we'll head towards downtown, and I'll tell you exactly what I mean. So let's get the seatbelt in here. All right. And let me just show you what's in here. Storage, power, more USB stuff. We also have wireless charging for a phone in front, and there's one in back. I'll show you the back seat when I park at my next stop. So we'll just put it in reverse, which is weird, because this, you would think you push the button and pull back, but that actually puts you in drive. You have to push the button and push forward, and pushing this puts you in park. And the parking brake button isn't here. The parking brake button is over here, and it doesn't set when you put it in park or turn the vehicle off. So yeah, it's kind of sloppy, like things are all over the place with that respect. So we're just going to back up here. We have, of course, our perspectives on the camera. We have, what do you call it? When you put it in drive, you get the front view on the camera. We have our radar sensors. I mean, this car just has a lot of tech and goodies on it, and it feels pretty good. But the drivability is what's holding it back. And so are these missing features. This is a pretty cool photo shoot area right here. I should shoot this next time. It's a funky place. Oh, leave it to Austin to be funky. Are they turning or not? Yep, okay. Looks clear to me. Now this place, excellent for coffee. They're pretty new too. So hipsters and millennials, don't ruin it for me. Look at this, no traffic on a Sunday. It's great. Okay, so you can tell it's pretty quiet in here, and that's because I have the sound enhancer for the engine off. And I can turn that on by going to the menu. And you can see right now I can't even stay in my lane. I'm just pointing the camera. I'm not even looking at what the camera's shooting. So that's kind of how I drive. I drive without looking at my camera. But we're going to go here. We're going to go to vehicle, and we're going to go to driver assistance, and then nope, we're going to go to drive mode. Active sound design. We're going to change it to enhanced. Okay, so now you're going to hear more of this artificial engine sound in the vehicle, even under this smart driving mode. So if I put my foot down, you get more of a enhanced sound. And that's cool, but I like the fact that you can turn it off because maybe you just don't want to try and impress your guests. Driving down the street though, the suspension feels very disconnected. It doesn't sound like anything's loose, but it feels like something's off. And it's got to be the wheel size, because I can't pinpoint what the actual problem is. And because the steering is so vague, I can't blame it on anything other than just a poor design. Now, I'm not a suspension or chassis guy. I just know that I've driven a lot of vehicles, and this one feels sloppy. And granted, it does have 10,000 miles on it, and it was produced in August, so this is pre-production. And maybe it's improved. I just think that maybe you should drive one if you're interested to see what it feels like. All I know is I was very tempted to go to a Kia dealer to drive one to see if it's just this car. And it might just be this car, but for all intents and purposes, it is kind of disappointing. Let me center my camera out again. Okay. We got our radar cruise, and it's really cool. If you turn it on, right, you see your speed, you see it on your heads-up display. But I'm going to set it, and it knows there's a car in front. So if I take my foot off the brake after I've just set it, we stay stopped. But you'll notice there's a little green steering wheel icon. And what was shocking was in stop and go traffic, if this was like we're in a traffic jam, if the car is doing this right now, the car will actually follow the vehicle in front of us, and it will actually steer for us. So it is semi-autonomous. It won't hold this whole corner, so I'm going to keep my hand on the wheel here. But if you're in a city and you have a traffic jam, this is a very convenient feature, and it's very luxurious. This is sort of like an underdog attempt, but it's also semi-inaccurate. So there we go. I had to correct that steering again. So I can't fully trust it at all, but it's nice to have in a stop and go situation because it reduces fatigue in traffic and it makes it much more enjoyable to drive. And it's pretty quiet in here too. Now we still have our radar cruise on, and we can increase our distance by pressing this button here, or we can decrease our distance. We have 4 settings for that. And that's kind of cool because when you're going through a place like this, it's very, there might be some things to see or not, or maybe people in front of you are distracted. The car is paying attention before you are. Red light. I'm going to stop. I'm also going to take this opportunity to go back to the menu. So we're going to go here, and we can zoom in, and it's very detailed. It has a lot of information, and the screen is pretty high res. It's pretty nice. And we do see traffic on here, and we got our icons, and it's a very nice large screen. I do like it, and it's also in the Telluride, and the Telluride is less than 50,000. Fully loaded was 47,000. And it had Napa leather. It had a headliner like this. It had this type of touch screen. It had, you know, it's got more space because it's a 3-row. But it's 20 grand cheaper than this. Roughly 15,000 cheaper. Straight ahead of us is the Capitol building. There. Interestingly enough, it's larger than the Capitol building in DC. Austin is the capital of Texas. You would never know it though, based on how this city is built. So I think this car mainly is for people who don't want a Toyota Avalon. I drove an Avalon recently, and I said that that car is no longer for elderly people, and you won't be seeing it anymore at estate sales or yard sales. I think they're going to go buy something else, and I'm fearing that maybe that is going to be this Kia K900. This car is an affordable version of a luxury car, not necessarily as an underdog, but as an alternative, or as Kia's flagship, right? And I know there are a lot of Kia fanboys out there, and I'm not saying this car sucks. I'm just saying I'm a little disappointed because it needs a few things. And I'm going to get to you, I'm going to explain that to you in a few minutes as soon as I park in that garage over there, because there's some cool stuff I want to show you that this car does in the dark, and I have to go to a parking garage to do that. Now, fuel economy wise, I have been really hard on this car. I've been idling a lot. I've been driving a lot. So I've done 467 miles in this car, and I've averaged 18.3 mpgs, which for a luxury car, that's about expected. But this doesn't have a V8, and that's about what I would get in my old, not old, it was a 2018, my Chrysler 300S Hemi would do that. So this is the same fuel economy as a V8, but the performance of a V6. And when I say performance of a V6, this engine is from the Kia Stinger. I think it's a twin turbo 3.2. Let's see what it says. Yeah, it's a 3.3 liter twin turbo V6. And the suspension, though, has so much squat and dive, it makes the car feel fast, even though it's not exactly a rocket ship. So there are faster luxury cars out there with V8 engines, and there are lighter cars with the same style engine that are faster. This is just basically in the middle ground, and maybe they were going for that, maybe they weren't. We're gonna make a left here. I do like the location of these air vents. There is a clock that's highly unnecessary. Let's go to the parking garage. Okay, so we have auto headlights.